Today was a big day because it was the final practice before the San Francisco 49ers get ready to face off against the Seattle Seahawks for their week one matchup. But the story of today wasn't about the matchup itself. It was about Christian McCaffrey. And as we all know, up until this point, yesterday, Christian McCaffrey popped up onto the San Francisco 49ers injury report with a limited participation. Then he did not practice today. We heard from Kyle Shanahan. We heard from Christian McCaffrey as well. Both had kind of different tones and discussions when it came to the injury situation. So let's get into it. Let's break it down. Let's talk about, is Christian McCaffrey going to play against Seattle? We're going to find out, but drop an SDS in the chat, smash that like button, and let's get into it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right, so today was kind of a wild one. If you've been following along with the situation going on with Christian McCaffrey, it actually started today, obviously after the situation that played out yesterday with him being limited with a calf injury. Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network said that from a source that he's been told or explained to, that the injury is more on the minor side. And so that put everyone kind of on high alert of, okay, well, let's wait until today's practice to see if CMC is available or not. And so we were kind of in a good spot. And then it started with the 49ers, a tweet from Vic Tafur, which came across like Christian McCaffrey had his helmet on. He was getting ready, getting warmed up for the start of practice. So the initial kind of thought out of 49ers practice was, oh, CMC, he's warming up, he's getting healthy, he's getting ready to go, he's getting ready to practice today. But as practice continued, when the whole team went to start warming up, and so you guys know they go into warm-up lines, CMC apparently diverted and went to the side field. As you can see here, reported by Matt Mayoko, says Christian McCaffrey is not with his teammates as they go through a pre-practice routine. It's unclear whether he will practice today or just go through physical therapy. So as we know, when a player is working off to the side, that is typically meaning they're rehabbing, they're tending to an injury, and all those different types of things. So what started out initially as like, oh, looks like CMC is practicing, quickly turned into, oh, maybe not. Maybe Christian McCaffrey isn't practicing. And then we found out after, and through that whole process, because media is only allowed to watch a portion of practice, which is basically the warm-ups, they don't get to see the involvement throughout practice. So no one knew until Kyle Shanahan spoke. And then when we heard from Kyle Shanahan, he indicated that Christian McCaffrey, it did in fact not practice today, and he's dealing with the calf. And then when Shanahan was asked basically about the seriousness of it and all, you could tell Kyle didn't want to say too much. You could tell he didn't want to say the wrong thing. He even went as far as to say, I'm not going to talk about CMC because obviously right now even with Eagles Cowboys kicking off last night, one of the biggest stories in the NFL is Christian McCaffrey. He is one of the main headlines because he's such a great player. And when he's available and when he's healthy, he's a huge part of the 49ers offense. And when he's a huge part of the 49ers offense, that obviously means all the other things come along with it. Fantasy, betting, all those different types of things. So even people outside of just 49ers fans want to know what the status of Christian McCaffrey is. So this situation becomes pretty polarizing, right? Because when it came out yesterday, a typical situation that would play out, a player went from a full participant marked to limited, it would be like, interesting, wonder what went down. Let's wait and find out. But because it's Christian McCaffrey, because Christian McCaffrey missed more than half of last season with the bilateral Achilles tendonitis, it's on everyone's radar. Like what? Like, oh no, did he re-injure his calf? Kyle did confirm that it was something that happened in yesterday's practice. So I don't know what we're calling it, a strain, a tweak, a pull, whatever it's classified as happened yesterday. So that's why he was limited and then didn't practice today. Now, when you heard from Kyle, it seemed kind of doom or gloom, kind of like, oh gosh, this doesn't sound great. But when you heard from Christian McCaffrey, it was a completely different tune. CMC, when being able to talk with the media, he says it's nothing serious. I can tell you that. Like I said, I feel great about where I am at. And he even went as far to say that he plans to play against the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't know. I honestly, I posted this meme. Basically, this is kind of how I feel. Like cross-eyed, like which way do I go? Like, is he healthy? Is he not healthy? How, like, obviously he's dealing with a little bit of a nick, but how serious is it? Is it something where is he going to be basically be a game time decision? Are they going to go out in the pregame and warm it up and then determine if he can go? Because that would be my assumption. I would have to assume that with something like this, I still think they would have to go and test it to make sure that they feel comfortable for CMC to go full speed for 60 minutes because, as we know, these things linger. You never know when they can occur. And I know the biggest thing that we have to do, and just kind of like CMC talked about himself, is one of the biggest things he's done with this situation is protecting him from himself. He made it kind of sound like what happened with his calf today would typically be something that he would just push through. And he even went as far to say he's proud of himself for basically like pulling himself out of practice and not participating, I think more as a precautionary situation than, I don't know, thinking it's doom and gloom. So it's quite the interesting situation, the way it's playing out. I really don't have a read on what it is. I think there's so many layers to it. It's the PTSD from what had happened last year. It's then compounding the situation with, the practice designation yesterday, what Kyle Shanahan said, and then what CMC said, which was kind of the opposite. So I don't know. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to find out. it's definitely a situation where it's like, man, the hope and the focus at this point in the season is focusing on Seattle, focusing on the Seahawks, talking about the matchups, and those different types of things, not necessarily, having to worry about injury or things of that nature. So I'm curious what you guys think based on everything that you've seen today. Do you think that Christian McCaffrey is going to play this weekend? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Honestly, like, I'm 50-50. I don't even know. I can't say definitively because I really do think that they're going to test it in the pregame, and that's what's going to determine if he plays or not. Because the way that I read it is that if he feels any lingering elements of it during like the warm-up, I think they're going to shut it down. That's the hard part about this one, is because of the serious nature that an injury like this can lead to. I think that adds a multiple layers of precaution to it, where, again, if he feels tightness, if he feels just a little, like it just doesn't feel 100%, like even almost if it's to the point where it's like it feels 99%, it feels 98%, but that 1 to 2% is enough to just, again, who knows? The calves are a tricky one. It's, again, with pre-existing bilateral Achilles tendonitis. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a medical doctor and I truly understand the correlation of the two, but you have to think, if it is a tweak, it's something that you have to monitor. I personally don't buy this. I don't buy, I love the enthusiasm behind it. I love the gamesmanship that some fans have, thinking that this is, 4D chess. I don't agree with that. I don't think that this is 4D chess. I don't think that at all. I think that this is honestly the last thing that Christian McCaffrey would have want to happen. Like, I don't think that this is a mind game situation. I don't think it's like, oh, hey Christian, we're gonna list you as limited, and then we're not gonna practice you on Friday just to mess with Seattle. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's I don't think that's the reality of the situation. So that's why I'm not taking that into consideration. I more think of this as like, okay, he tweaked something and they're being very careful with it. It doesn't mean it's a serious tweak, doesn't mean it's a season ender, or even he might still play. And I think that's part of the reality that I think is challenging, is he can still potentially play this upcoming game against Seattle. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm curious how you guys feel about this matchup. How confident are you that the 49ers, I've been to the last two road games in Seattle. It can be loud, it could be a little hostile. Shout out to the 49er fans. Last time I went, both games that I went to, 49er fans have represented very well. They're projected to be more 49er fans at this game in Seattle. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how the fans think about this matchup. Do they think it's an easy dub? Is it going to be a little bit more challenging? You got Sam Darnold out there with the former 49ers backup quarterback to Brock Purdy, now going to be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks I talked about this on a previous live stream. I think one of the keys to victory for this game is going to be Robert Saleh. I think one of the underrated matchups is Saleh versus Sam Darnold. And actually, is there any overlap with Sam Darnold and Robert Saleh? Let me double check. You guys might know, did Robert Saleh coach Sam Darnold? Might have been gone around that time. Yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting point. So when Robert Saleh was hired as the head coach by the New York Jets in January 2021, Sam Darnold was still on the team. But 3 months later, the Jets traded Darnold to the Carolina Panthers. So that's a fascinating element of this, is you could theoretically say, in theory, Robert Saleh traded Sam Darnold. Now is most likely the GM's move to make that decision. But still, Robert Saleh was hired, and then 3 months later, Darnold was traded away to the Panthers. And so we know how the story goes. Darnold bounces around, even lands in San Francisco as the backup, goes to Minnesota, has a big year, gets a contract, now is the Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback. I think that's a matchup again that I think can really determine the outcome of this game. Is how does Robert Saleh scheme it up against Sam Darnold? Who wins that battle? Can Saleh make Sam Darnold uncomfortable? Can we trick his eyes? I think if Saleh can do that, I think there is a chance Saleh is going to just absolutely unload his scheme on Sam, because this is an important game. Like, yes, you don't want to show your whole hand and, put a bunch of stuff on tape that other coaches will be able to prepare for. But at the same time, you got to win this game. This is as much of a must-win game for a week 1 opening matchup, as possible. It's a NFC West division rivalry. There are going to be playoff implications attached to this. The 49ers play the Seattle Seahawks in week 18 at the very end of the season. So that game could have playoff implications. So it's an important game. This one means a lot. This one really does. They got to go in here. They got to punch Seattle in the mouth, start the season off strong, especially after the way last year went. They got to get this dub. Sam Darnold beat the 49ers last time they played when he squared off with the Minnesota Vikings. Fred Warner got a pick, but ultimately in the end, Sam Darnold came out of that game victorious. And there's multiple different reasons to why that had happened. But again, I do think that Robert Saleh plays a huge role in how the defense schemes Sam Darnold, because the Seattle Seahawks are going to want to run the ball. They got Zach Charbonnet, they have Kenneth Walker. They've upgraded their offensive line. They drafted Gray Zabel in the first round at left guard. He's going to be a really good player for them. They have bookend tackles, so they've slowly been improving their offensive line. They just gave Lucas, their right tackle, a contract extension. He was a former draft crush of mine. So I do think they're going to want to run the ball, but then they're going to want to be able to utilize play action and then eventually start dropping back, start getting JSN involved. I think the biggest matchup that I'm so that's matchup 1, right? Matchup 1, Sam Darnold versus Robert Saleh. Matchup 2 that I'm looking for, that I'm watching, JSN versus Deommodore Lenoir. We heard all that talking, all that stuff that was going on this offseason. Diamador Lenore called him a crybaby, and he eventually responded later on down the road this offseason. I want to see JSN versus Diamador. I feel like it's going to get chippy. I feel like, you now throw in an angry Juwan Jennings into the mix, throwing a Juwan Jennings who reportedly turned down a multi-year contract extension from the San Francisco 49ers, valued at around $16 million per year to bet on himself. I'm excited to see the wide receiver cornerback matchups in this game on both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be a fun one because Diamador versus the field, Juwan Jennings versus the field. It's going to be chippy. It's going to be a chippy one. So I'm really looking forward to those matchups. George Kittle typically plays really well against Seattle, so I'm looking for the Brock and George Kittle connection to really go crazy. I think their connection in training camp was absolutely undeniable. They were so good in training camp. They were nearly just automatic. So I think those guys are going to go wild. And what's going to be interesting is, is the Brazil game on tonight? Is that going down? What time is that at? I didn't know that was a Friday game. So we got football on YouTube tonight? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, snap. We got football tonight. Dang, in 15 minutes. We got football in 15 minutes. Oh, I got to get moving. Then. All right. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see about CMC. I'm not confident. I'm not confident to say one way or the other. I don't know, man. I don't know. It feels like a game time decision. We'll see. CMC's comments made me feel a whole lot better, though. I will say that. So I believe, CMC, I think he's being truthful about it. So, yeah, we'll see. But appreciate everyone hopping on. I'm going to get out of here so I can go watch this game. I didn't even know there's a game tonight. And appreciate y'all. Free game on YouTube. Let's go. We'll see. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm cautiously optimistic. That made me feel a whole lot better. But we'll see. Appreciate everyone as always. I'll see you guys. We got football this weekend. Let's go. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see